If you're an American on TikTok lately, you've probably just been introduced to a guy that you have never heard of before, named Robbie Williams. Now, the initial American reaction to hearing the name Robbie Williams is probably Robin Williams or that dude that sang Blurred Lines, but either is wrong. This is a completely different guy. And my first impression of this guy is him as a monkey, and honestly, congratulations for him for finally announcing and coming out with his persona. I'm really, really proud of him. But apparently, Robbie Williams has this biopic coming out called Better Man that's being marketed in the US for some reason, which we'll get into as to why that's kind of weird. And people from the UK slowly started to realize that Americans have no idea who Robbie Williams is, and this kicked off a very interesting online discourse about it. Now, I know you're probably listening to my voice and picking up on some possible biases that I have, being that I am American. I don't have a British accent, but I am Appalachian, which is apparently the closest thing we have to like modern day Shakespearean. That's a thing.
My sister's speaking it fancy!
But I'm not British, which means I can only give insight to the American side of this story, but I did do my best at trying to research the other side, okay? Over there across the pond. But during my research, I found out that Robbie Williams is one of the most successful recording artists of all time in the UK. This guy has 14 #1 albums and 18 Brit Awards, okay? This is a well-established household name within the UK. Robbie started his career in a boy band called Take That, and from what I hear, their breakup was something along the lines of Zayn leaving One Direction. Apparently this was a really, really big deal. I was not there for it, but I feel like this is some crucial context that Americans missed out on that probably leans into the success of Robbie Williams. See, along with Robbie Williams, we have no idea who Take That is either. We unfortunately do not have the context nor the nostalgia or the memories that probably helps his solo career. Again, that's something else the Americans just aren't aware of. But apparently there's a long history of Robbie Williams flopping in the US, and his Monkey movie is just one of several examples, so let's talk about that. For starters, his #1 single, titled Angels, only made it to 53 in the US. Even still, that didn't stop Capitol Records in 1999 from signing a deal with Robbie in the hopes that he would finally make it big in America. This whole plan to make Robbie successful in America included an album called The Ego Has Landed and a North American tour. The album itself did okay, selling around 1 million copies, and the tour itself really gave Robbie an insight as to how Americans view him. It started to become clear that Americans just did not have an interest in Robbie. See, his onstage persona is very much catered towards British humor, and a lot of Americans just didn't get it. But this did not stop Robbie, okay? After his first failed attempt to go big in America, he tried again in 2003. This record deal included 6 albums, and yet again, this did not prove successful at all. But now with this biopic coming out and being marketed in the US, it seems that Robbie is trying once again, and let me dare say this might be his most successful attempt because I have never seen Americans talk more about him until this very moment. But I don't think it's just the movie doing that, okay? The movie kicked off this whole thing, but I think it's just the Brits online being very, very upset about it and fighting with Americans online because of it. The Brits and Americans have beef. Nothing really changes, does it? It's all the same. It's like 1776 in here. Now, it seems like British people are really trying to sell Robbie Williams to Americans, at least starting out. And they're leading with this song called Rock DJ,
With the floor show, kicking with your torso.
which I had never heard of before. I do not know what kicking with your torso means at all. If you want Americans to understand who Robbie Williams is, you have to bring up that he wrote the song Candy.
She thinks she's made of candy.
This is the one that clicked for me, that was like, oh yeah, I know this guy. A lot of Americans online are being accused of bullying Robbie Williams, which granted, I think after we're being accused of being bullying, there was a lot of people online that started bullying just because we were accused of it. But let me just say, as an American, we genuinely do not know who this man is. And that's not a diss on him, we just don't know him.
I hate to say it, I hope I don't sound ridiculous. I don't know who this man is. I mean, he could be walking down the street, I wouldn't know a thing. Sorry to this man.
He did not have the impact on America as he did in the UK, and they had spent millions of dollars trying, but it just didn't work. Which leads into another argument that I see online, which is Americans don't care about anything outside of our country. And that's not true, at least within the context of music. Like, do you not know what the British invasion is? We will accept British music with open arms, and a lot of British artists have been wildly successful here. I mean, around the time of the British invasion, you had the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, The Who, The Smiths, Queen. Moving on a little further, you get into Oasis and Radiohead and Gorillaz, and even more modern, you have One Direction and Harry Styles, Adele, Charlie XCX. Y'all are acting like Brat Summer didn't have Americans in a chokehold. And that is a British artist. I am wearing a shirt of a British band right now, Sleep Token. That is a British metal band. Americans have no problem accepting British bands or accepting artists from different areas. We just don't like Robbie. He was a flop in America. I don't know when you guys are going to accept that. He tried multiple times. It didn't work. We just don't resonate with his music. The general consensus that I gather of Americans' opinion on Robbie Williams, including my own, is that it just sounds like Cole's music. It sounds like music you would hear in commercials.
I am rectangular.
I get it, okay? I respect the guy, I respect his success, but I don't like it, and the majority of Americans don't like it, and that's why he was not successful here. And look, I get it. If this was the other way around, I would not hold a grudge towards the UK. Like, I do not expect them to have any idea who Garth Brooks or Jimmy Buffett is, even though both of those people were wildly successful in the US. It's just a cultural difference is really all what it boils down to, and differences is what makes the world go around, it's what makes the world interesting, and it's what makes arguments pop off on TikTok. I don't think Americans had bad intentions going into this, even though we were accused of that really, really quickly. I think we just genuinely do not know who this man is because he did not have the cultural impact that he had with the UK. And that's completely fine. You know what I mean? One man's trash is another man's treasure and all that. But I did learn a lot about Robbie Williams in the process, and I hope you did too. If you enjoyed the video, please hit like and subscribe to join the Groovy Graveyard, and I will see you in the next one.